أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم أنت السلام ومنك السلام تبارك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. When I was invited to present this paper, I told the brother who invited me to it to say, I agree I've been a practical father for the last 22 years or so, but that doesn't mean I'm learned in that field in terms of what the Quran and Sunnah say, except for what I've heard from dear Malams. But luckily for me, about 6-7 years ago, I came across this book, The Ideal Father, by Maulana Muhammad Hanif Abdul Majid. This is a learned man from South Africa that has written several books. He has written others like The Ideal Mother. He has also written something about the gift for a groom and the gift for a bride. So I recommend that anybody that, like the Malam said last time, aspiring to be a father should get the opportunity to read something like this so that he can be guided. So I summarized what was written in this book, and I said, let me present it in this format. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The most precious asset of any nation are its children. Although they may be playing on the laps of their parents now, and you don't see them as anything in terms of decisive action, but they will be leaders of the Ummah tomorrow. So there is need for us to guide and groom these future leaders of the Ummah so that they grow up to be the ideal da'wah for the society. Therefore, when a child is born, his true principal teachers are his father and his mother. And the first place or the first school for the child is the home, from where he either assimilates righteousness or he imbibes evil. So it is very paramount that the children from childhood at home imbibe the good articles of Iman and good behavior, so that when they come out to be leaders of tomorrow, they will guide the society. So we should value our children and not see them as a burden. They are a blessing from the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there is no difference between the male or female child. That is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Shura, verse 45, 49 and 50, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, He creates whatever He wills. He bestows upon whomsoever He wills a girl, and He bestows whomsoever He will a boy, and for some He bestows both, and whomsoever Allah also wishes, He makes childless. So Allah can bless you with children, or you can be childless. And even within the children, if He blesses you, He could only give you girls or boys, or makes a mixture of both. So those are blessings from Allah. That's what it's saying. Children are a trust from the Almighty, so we are expected to safeguard this trust. We will be questioned about this, and Allah will question us about what responsibility He gave us on these children, and if we discharge that obligation correctly. So we should treat them in such a manner that they turn out to be worthwhile and source of mercy for mankind, not only for ourselves, but for mankind as well, and also as a blessing in the hereafter for us when we are no more. If you do otherwise, you will be guilty of being unjust to yourself, unkind to the child himself whom you have not guided, and unfair to the society which eventually he will come into to lead. So this book, The Ideal Father, is a 389-page book, and it was translated by Mufti Muhammad Qudwa. It deals with, amongst other things, the responsibilities of the father, such as the selection of a pious wife and devoted one, making dua for pious children, adoption of the golden principle of childbearing, pursuit of vital strategies in the mental development of the child, and then Islamic spiritual enhancement to ensure Tawheed, that's the unity of Allah, is embedded in every fiber of the child, and also to cultivate the spirit of the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam in their hearts. So at the end of the book, he summarized the book into about 40 points, and I felt, although I've read A to Z of it, but this summary will guide as to what we will discuss. So the first issue is, consider your children a divine bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are a blessing. Rejoice at their birth. Congratulate one another and passionately welcome this child by expressing your sincere gratitude to Allah for giving you this child or children. He has awarded you with this golden opportunity to rear a Muslim and an ideal prospect for your successor in the deen, who will continue where you stopped, as well as the dunya. You have become a means to expand the Muslim population by adding another da'i or a servant of Allah into the system. So this is a responsibility which people should take with all seriousness. The second point he said is, if you are not bestowed with any children, make dua for pious children. If we remember Prophet Zachariah, when he saw the blessings bestowed on Maryam alayhi salam, he understood that there was nobody that was given but Allah. And that was why he said this prayer in Ali Imran: O my Lord, bestow upon me from your side well-disposed children. Verily, you are most attentive to all du'as. So before you even get children, pray that Allah gives you pious children from His side, so that the children come with good morals under your guidance. So at the point of birth, don't ever get gloomy and feel bad, either due to financial constraints or health reasons or due to whatever reason it may be. At all costs, refrain from worrying over the birth and avoid condemning the child. We hear instances where wives go to the maternity ward, give birth to 2 children, 3 or 4 children, and the first thing the father starts doing is lamenting and crying and feeling that these are burden that he's going to take. So Allah gave you them, and He will surely provide a means for them. So there is no need to feel bad or gloomy at the birth of a child due to fear of responsibility or burden that you may have to take. Don't regard the child as an intolerable burden unto you, and avoid condemning the children. And that is where we see people that are not ready to be fathers. They don't have time to nurture the kids. Whenever a child comes near him, he pushes him away. This child wants to smear my body, he wants to disturb me, I want to rest, all these things. If you know the responsibility Allah has bestowed on you, you should own up to that responsibility and be a source of support and guide to that child. After the birth of the child, we expect to bathe him, and clean him up. Thereafter, you are expected under the sunnah of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam to call out the azan in the right ear of the child and iqama on the left ear. This is a sunnah. Why? There is great wisdom in conveying the name of Allah and His Rasul into the ears of the child the moment he is born. Allama ibn Qayyim writes in his book Tuhfatul Wadud, in other words, the first words to reach the child's ear should be regarding the greatness of Allah. Why? Because the Shahada which every Muslim pronounces upon entering the fold of Islam is conveyed to the child the moment he opens his eyes in the world, just as the kalima of Tawheed is conveyed to the person about to breathe his last when somebody is dying. Another advantage of calling the azan is to call out, is to shy away the shaitan from this child. The minute shaitan hears the call of azan, you know what he does. He runs away. So once you do that, you give the opportunity for the child to hear from the words of Allah, in the name of Allah and His Rasul, before even shaitan comes near him. So instead of transmitting the call of shaitan to the child first, he is therefore, before anything else, invited into Islam and the worship of Allah by that azan and kalima. After the azan and iqama, if possible, get a pious person to chew, based on the sunnah, a date or something sweet and place into the child's mouth and make some dua for the child as a source of blessing. The next one is select a good name for the child. This is very important. We've had instances where children imbibe the qualities of those whose names they have been given at birth. That's why people give the names of Nabis, any of the prophets of Allah, or you can give the name of the servant of Allah, which is Abdul something, Abdul Rahman, Abdul Malik, Abdul Latif. All those are good names or names of Sahaba that portrays good, the name portrays good in it. If by mistake you have done otherwise by naming a child in not a very good name, we know some people prefer to do traditional ones, but if you get to understand that it is better to do a more Islamic one, it's not out of place that you change the name. Give him a good name so that he will understand it. And in fact, for those whom you give those names, they should know the reason why those names were given to them. The person who is called Ibrahim, it wouldn't be out of place for him to know the Prophet of Allah, Ibrahim Khalilullah, and his qualities that Allah chose him to be a friend, or the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or Musa or Isa, or so all those names have hidden meanings behind them based on those people that have those names, and it's not out of place you try those children to emulate those good people or pious people that have once lived. On the seventh day, there is the performing of the naming ceremony. It's ideal if you can afford it to slaughter a sheep or a goat on behalf of the child and distribute a sadaqah and a feast for the family and well-wishers. You are also to shave the child's head if possible and distribute its equivalent of silver or gold in charity as sunnah of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Point 9, he says, on the seventh day, there is also, if the child is male, for you to circumcise him. This is a sunnah of all the Anbiya, radiallahu anhum, and it is also a distinguishing feature of Islam. Many religions would only emulate, but Islam, it's a major sunnah of the religion for us to circumcise our children for both spiritual and health reasons. However, if it is not possible within the first 7 days, it can be done at least any time along the child's growing up before he gets to 7 years old. Circumcision is an Islamic characteristic. All prophets of the Prophet of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala were circumcised, and it's expected that we follow in that good act. Point 10, please, I know there are fathers amongst us here. These are just points I'm raising. If there are any additional comments or contributions, please feel free to make such as we go along. This is not exhaustive, please. Thank you. So when the child, after the 7 days and everything, it's expected the child starts growing up, and by the time the child starts talking, between 2 years, 1.5, 2 years, 3 years, the right thing to do first is to teach the child La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. And from the onset, it should be made clear to the child that there is only one being worthy of worship, and praise and gratitude is due only to him. And gradually, when that is being imbibed in him, he will grow to understand and have respect and awe for Allah, and look at all others outside the Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala as servants like him, so that he won't dare go into saying somebody is good enough for me to worship or follow. You only follow Allah and the guidance of the Rasul. So those things are the things you should imbibe as the child grows up, between when he starts talking and gradually as he gets older. So it also, in the summary, also says, encourage the mother, that's your wife, to breastfeed the child while after he's born. This is the right time for the child, for the mother. This is the right of the child over the mother, to breastfeed him. It's a gift to saying, we know the breast milk is very nutritious. It keeps the child healthy. It protects him from illnesses and other problems that he may grow up growing up if he didn't have that breast milk. So this is a responsibility of the mother, and it also emphasizes the importance of showing kindness of the mother. Whenever a mother breastfeeds her child, there is that affinity and attachment, such that as the child grows up, he becomes loving and affectionate to his mother. Parents that choose not to breastfeed, you find that emotional attachment to their mothers is not there as much as possible. And that's why some kids, if they are not breastfed or breastfed casually and after a few months thrown away just because of some, if there is a reason based on some illness or something, it's understood. But without that, a mother must bring that child close to her. Otherwise, as the child grows up, that attachment to the mother will not be there, and that mercy that is expected for the child to have over the parents will be minimal. And that's why you see some children don't care about their parents. So the child develops more love for the mother who breastfeeds him. Such children are generally more obedient, and the mothers have also fewer complaints about such children. Coupled with this, it's also the mother's responsibility that with every drop of milk, she imparts the lesson of Tawheed, the love of the Rasul, the devotion of the Deen. So a mother needs to also be religious, so that as that son or the daughter of hers is being breastfed and there is that attachment, she sees that guide in terms of the Deen, not just behaving the way she wants, guided by the Deen. As a father also, it's not expected that only the mother at that age should do it. The father also has this responsibility. Do not lighten your burden and relegate your responsibility onto the mother's shoulder, but fulfill this pleasant religious obligation yourself as well. Get the child close to you as well, so that he will have that affection and affinity for you and love and care. As far as possible, stay away from what we call, in English it's called amulets, but in Hausa I don't know if there is any word that can describe it. They write the Quran in small something, tie it lyre and attach it to a child to say it's a source of protection. So it could be lyre in terms of the Quranic words, but even if not that, you find some parents just bringing something from elders of the society saying this is a source of protection for the child. We should desist from the very beginning of attaching our children to depend on something other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what you should always do is pray for him, recite the verses of the Quran for protection. We know the La Uzays that you do, La Uzbil Falak and Nas, as protection, and other verses of the Quran that serve as protection. Those are the things so that the child gets to understand and appreciate that protection only comes from Allah. Otherwise, he will start believing that he has to depend on somebody or something for his protection or guidance or something. Refrain from intimidating the child as the child grows up. So shouting at them, pushing them away, frowning at them causes anxiety in the child because they are young, and this anxiety suffering developing during the years of the child manifests itself into the child becoming a misfit within the society, with lack of confidence, afraid, shy, always trying to be to himself. He's not, he doesn't have that leadership quality that he should have in terms of being a Muslim in the Ummah. So that intimidation and lack of affiliation with the parents makes the child less confident and becomes anxious. Generally, children are expected to be happy, and one of the key things to make them happy is to ensure that they are always well fed, especially at that young age. Don't punish your children with hunger. It's not that you can't afford, but you feel the child can wait or you are busy. You shouldn't do that. You should try and keep the child well fed so that he has that good disposition to learn at that early age. Be particularly conscious about scolding. This is number 13. Admonishing and reprimanding the child for every trivial thing, small thing. You fight him, stop this, all those things. Instead of showing disgust towards their deficiencies, you should do with wisdom and enthusiasm. Get the child close to you and show affection, and if he is doing something wrong, try to guide him into doing the right thing. But stop this, why are you doing this, what is this? All those things only scare the child and gets him to go into his shell, and gradually, in fact, there was an incident where an example was given in the book where the father was too harsh to the son, not caring about, whenever the father comes back, the child wants to get close to him. He's saying, "No, leave me, I'm tired. Go to your mother. Don't spoil my clothes, don't touch me," those things. And gradually the son became disenchanted with the father. And as the child grew up, definitely between the ages of from birth to maybe 12, 13 years, the child always looks at the parents as mentors to guide. They know everything. They expect to be guided by them. And if you don't give them that support and affection, once they pass that age, they would not want to come close to you. In fact, they wouldn't want anything to do with you except if just for your responsibility, you have to pay school fees, you have to give them food to eat. But otherwise, in terms of their development and spiritual upliftment, they would shy away from you. You will not know what they are doing. And that's very dangerous. So that is one of the reasons why you should get your children close to you, especially at that young age. Always treat your children with love, affection, and warmth. As far as possible, attend to their needs and kindle their spirit of obedience. Avoid questioning, why are you doing this? When did you do this? Who asked you to do this? All those things scare the child. And you don't have to shame them. Say things that you are stupid. Those things, they really intimidate the child and push him away. Instead of admonishing the child in this way, employ a positive stance. You can rub the head of the child, talk to him in a nice way, and also explain affectionately to him why he shouldn't do what you think is annoying you that he's doing. Show love and affection to the children. Take them on your lap. I think there was an instance where the Prophet ﷺ was holding his grandson, son Hassan, radiallahu anhu, and somebody said, one of the Sahaba, the Prophet, you have time for this? I don't know the correct wording, but he was saying, you are too serious and have so many commitments. What time do you have to do these affectionate things to children? That he has never done it to his children, he's never kissed his children. And the Prophet ﷺ said, what? That whoever does not have mercy for the young, Allah will not have mercy on him either. So we're enjoined to, I know some people, it may be a nature by that person to say he doesn't have time. Even if he sees a child, he just says hello and then moves. But for your own children, there should be need to go the extra mile, even if you don't have that character, so that you mold them in the way of the deen and guide them. They need that guidance. So you should also expend all your energies in providing your children with decent education. We see many parents that give birth to children and don't care about how they get educated. This is very dangerous, because especially your spiritual upliftment. Apart from that, also you need to empower them with a source of livelihood that they can also survive in the world. You can't only be praying or doing ibadah. You also learn some skills to survive within the society, so that you can also grow up to be a responsible citizen. So you need to expend that time for your children, so that you give them decent education and wholesome bringing. In pursuit of this objective, don't be the least hesitant. As long as you can afford it, give them the best. It is for your own good and for their own good in the future. This is a religious obligation, a great favor unto your children, and a great act of goodwill unto yourself as well if you do it. Because if they don't turn out to be good, chances are it will be to your own detriment, both in this world and the hereafter. Abu Mas'ud al-Badri radiallahu anhu narrates that the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when a person spends upon his family for the pleasure of Allah in anticipation of reward in the hereafter, this spending is a form of charity for him. So it's not a burden to say, I'm just spending. As long as, I think Malam early this morning during after the Subuhi prayers said it, as long as your intention is good For any act you do that is good, you get reward. So feeding your children or your family may be a responsibility, but apart from that, it's also an ibadah. And if you do it with that intention, you will gain reward. So don't, in fact, amongst various categories of rewards, I think the best out of it is managing and feeding your, supporting your family in whatever way. Giving to others outside is also good, but the first obligation is on your own family. So we shouldn't shy away from that. So in providing for them, always make it a priority to provide halal. And that is a key one. Anything short of halal, you are building into them a dangerous act within them, such that they can be rebellious, they will not have mercy on you because you are not giving them halal. So halal is paramount to saying, no matter how small, ensure that what you give them is halal and Allah will bless it. We see parents these days doing whatever to just supply children, and you are not being fair to them, because once you feed them with haram, you are just building into them something that will not augur well at the end for you. The Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam also said here, a body nourished by haram will never enter paradise. Even if it does eventually, it must go into hell, and that side of the haram must be taken away. So is that your prayer for your children? I don't think so. Another Sahabi, Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas radiallahu anhu, asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make him what is called a mustajab da'wah. That is one of those whose du'as are always accepted. Once you pray, Allah accepts. So he begged for the Rasul to pray for him so that he becomes such a person. And what did the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said? He said, "O Sa'ad, make your food pure, and you will become a mustajab da'wah." Once you eat good things that are halal, whenever you pray to Allah, Allah will answer you. We know that hadith of the person who came in from disheveled, from with his clothes looking dirty and praying to Allah, ya Allah, ya Allah, ya Allah. But what the Rasul said, his source of food is haram, his source of halal, and how can Allah answer him based on that? So as long as you feed your children with haram, you are just grooming them for disaster. Please, we should desist from that. When the child reaches the age of 7, as a top priority, we should teach them how to perform salat. This is an act of ibadah which differentiates a Muslim from a non-Muslim. So the child must learn how to pray, and pray from the age of 7. Anything below that is recommended, but it's not a must. But I hope time is okay. So that aspect of it is very important, to say, teach your children to pray and make it as part of a pleasure for them to learn how to pray. Let it not be a burden. So one of the key things would be to say, you as a parent or a father or mother that you want them to pray, how are you praying? Are you praying in a format where you are just in a hurry to dispense of that obligation and move on? Or are you doing it to an extent where you are saying, yes, this is the pleasure of Allah I'm trying to acquire by doing what is mandatory on me? So once you have that attitude of praying with pleasure and doing it, then the child also learns to do it that way. He is always learning from you. So the problem is, what are you doing? If you are doing it right, he will learn right. If you are not, he will learn the wrong way. So for boys, it's recommended that you take them to the mosque from that age. Below that age, maybe once in a while, but it's not recommended that they must. But from 7 years, they should come to the mosque so that they understand that men or boys should pray in the Jama'ah. It's not somebody to pray at home. We know parents where hardly come to the mosque. So what are you teaching your child? When will he learn to come to the mosque to pray? Make the girls perform salat with their mothers as well, and take the boys with you to the masjid and try to develop enthusiasm for the performance of prayer. Let it be a pleasure, not a burden. When they turn 10 and show any shortcoming in discharging this obligation, what are we expected to do? We should reprimand them. We're not seriously beating them, but we should make sure that we instruct them and mandate them to pray. And once you can do that at that age, the child will imbibe and gradually it will become part of him. If you don't, then gradually the child will decide not to. So it's not a source of caring for a child to say, no, leave him. There is no need. He can do it later when he grows up. It's wrong. He must learn from when he is small. So let your actions and statements point out to them that if he doesn't do it, it will not be tolerated. There should be some reprimands so that that child must always pray. Shaitan is always lurking around so that he stops you from doing that or your children. So you shouldn't allow that. At the age of 10 also, it's recommended that if they sleep in the same bed, you should separate them. It's not right for children from 10 years old to sleep on the same bed, 2 of them or more. So even if it is on the floor, it's not out of place because of maybe economic situation that you can't afford something bigger for them. But don't keep them on the same bed. There is also that tendency of having them mix and learn bad things. Always keep your children clean and tidy. As a father, it's also your responsibility, be it as it may, if you say it's the mother's responsibility. But even if the mother doesn't do it, it doesn't take away your responsibility as a father. Your children must be clean and tidy. They should bath and clean their teeth. We know the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Cleanliness is half of our deen. So we shouldn't allow our children just live the way they want to without you guiding them. There could be some mothers that are very meticulous and clean, but not all. So if there is that shortfall within your own household, you must own up to that responsibility to ensure that your children are clean and tidy. Ensure that their clothes are pure and clean, because there is a difference between cleanliness and purity. So you must ensure that whatever the child wears is not only clean but also pure, so that when he prays, the prayer will be accepted. And he must know that difference. I hope we understand what we are saying, because the problem here is a small, you go to ease yourself, and a small urine drips on your body, and somebody carelessly forgets to say, no problem. You should not tolerate that. Children should not do that. You must ensure that their clothes are also pure, so that gradually they understand what it means to have pure clothing. So while trying to do that, we also should not encourage them to be too excessive in being meticulous with vanity. You see children looking so expensive and so posh, and it lifts up their psychological well-being to say they are superior to other people. That's not what we are saying here. Cleanliness does not have to be expensive. Let it just be moderate, especially at that age where children don't know the difference between what somebody else is wearing and what I'm wearing. But once you groom your children to be, oh, okay, that person is wearing so type of inferior quality, or I'm wearing something superior, you are breeding something else in the child as well. So let them learn to keep it clean and simple, and avoid being excessive in making them look nice. Don't ruin the morals of the child by making them wear flamboyant and flashy clothing. Once in a while, it's not out of place, but let it not be something that will get to their head to say we are better than other people. Avoid mentioning faults in front of others. If a child has done something, there is no need to back and shout at him and correct him at that point in front of other people. So be very cautious about putting the child into shame, because once you do that, the child just shies away, and he cannot fight you back. He cannot say I did it. So the right thing to do, the ideal thing for that boy or girl to do, is to shy away. And you will see they don't want to come close to such parents that shout at them and shame them in front of others. So advise them separately and take somebody away and talk to him, especially when you are less angry for what they have done. The right thing is, whenever you talk to them and you try to correct them, let it be in a warm and affectionate atmosphere, so that they will feel happy to take what advice you are giving them. In front of the children, don't reveal your despair over their failure to rectify things. I've told you to stop this. Why are you still doing this? In fact, to boost their spirit, praise them whenever they do something, no matter how small, so that they can build that spirit of doing good. So your child may not reach up to where you want, but for the little he has achieved, encourage him and commend him for that, and aspire him to do even better. So those are the things that you should do, so that they gain that self-confidence, and also pray to Allah for their guidance. Quietly, it's expected that parents should pray for their children, and it's a constant thing that we should do. Relate to them the stories of the Anbiya, or prophets, and the Sahaba, so that they understand the qualities of those leaders that we had in Islam, and how they invited non-Muslims. There are many books on Sirah and other things that we know you can have on the Sahaba and their escapades that they did for the upliftment of Islam. Also narrate to them the gallant incidents of the lives of the Sahaba and pious people, regarding such narration as crucial for their morals and for the development of their affiliation towards the deen. So we should have those books rather than these bed night story books that some parents say, let me read for my children so that they sleep. What you do is tell them. In fact, there are some small CDs and videos that you see, stories of prophets and those type of things. Let them understand their religion and who they should emulate. Those are the things that we should put our children through. These foreign films and cartoons that they keep watching, don't groom them in the direction we want. Otherwise, it only drives them away. That's why you see children don't want to leave. The minute they put on that cartoon, he doesn't want to do anything but sit down and watch. Periodically make your children distribute alms, food, etc. to the poor with their own hands, just teaching them the spirit of sympathy and generosity. There are some people that I'm not sure it's Islamic, but even within the Islamic fold, you find some people seeing somebody that is downtrodden and below you, you feel it's his lack of commitment to stand up and look for a source of livelihood that is why he is where he is. No matter how, definitely there could be some category of people that are within that bracket, but truly there are some that are in need, and you can know them by their marks. I think we have been told that the children, the orphans, the wayfarers, and those fighting in the cause of Allah, the incapacitated, all these are people that we should enjoin to give support to. So your children should learn to say, somebody is less privileged than me. The right thing for me to do is to assist such a person. And you as a parent does not do it alone. As you do it, also encourage them to do it themselves also. Am I boring you? Can I have contributions or interjections for comments? So we continue. Your child should also learn the spirit of recognizing the rights of others as his brothers or siblings or neighbors by saying, I'm not partial, only me. Let him know that others also have rights. So whenever you have something, you can tell him, go and give others, so that he knows that it's not only his right to always say, whatever I have is for me. Let him also share with others. Those are the things we should imbibe in our children. Do not comply with the child's every whim and fancy, and this is very important. A child, especially when they start getting onto the toddler age, 3, 4, 5, they do whatever they want, and many a times you say, no, he's a child, leave him to do whatever he wants, no problem. Yes, there are limits to that. And that's why it's saying, with tact and wisdom, try to dissuade the child from these bad habits if you see him exhibit some of them. Employ a bit of harshness now and again, just to say, you can't do this, stop doing this. But don't say, no problem, whatever he does, it's an age where he can do whatever he wants. Gradually, he will do what is also wrong, and you can't stop him eventually. But when you start curbing that excess, gradually, you will put him back in check. Don't turn them into obstinate and adamant children. I must do this, I have this, you must give me this for Papa, or something like that. There are some children that are like that. And you see parents just following or abiding by those children's wishes, which is also dangerous. There is a limit to what a child must demand and you give. Don't forget that it is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ explained in the hadith, when a person aims to please someone and in the process he displeases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants supremacy and dominance to the same person over him. So the issue here is, you have two people. One, you want to please the other person. He is doing something wrong and you allow him to do it just to please him, while you know what he is doing displeases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So once you do that, which means you are a parent, your child is trying to do something wrong and he wants to do it, so you want to please him, let him do it. In the process, he displeases Allah. Then the problem is, there is a cause on that to say, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant that son supremacy and dominance over that parent who is trying to allow him or spoil him, so that eventually the child becomes a burden to you. We remember I think it's in Surah Al-Kahf, the king, what's the name of that servant of Allah that Musa, Khidr, that he saw children playing and he killed one of the sons, and the children. Why did he do that? When Prophet Musa asked, or he explained to Prophet Musa afterwards, he said what? That the father and the parents of this child are pious people. And this boy, by the knowledge of Allah given to him, that this child is going to grow up and defy the parents and even make them go against the will of Allah. And that is why it's better for him to even kill him rather than. So when we leave our children to decide what they do, it can be a punishment on us. And that's why we shouldn't, to an extent, stop them from anything that is bad at whatever cost. Avoid speaking in harsh tones, avoid yelling and shrieking, and advise the children to speak in a moderate and gentle tone as well. You see some children, the way they talk, they shout, they go to places, you see people looking at them to say, what type of upbringing is this? All those things are from the home. When you teach your child to be calm and composed, you talk to him in a calm and composed manner, he will also imbibe that. But when you shout, you scream, you abuse, the child will also do the same. And he will not only do it in front of you, but even behind you, in front of other people. So that's the reason why you do the right thing, so that your child also learns to do the correct thing. Develop among them the habit of doing doing everything by themselves also is a very important one. You see children heavily dependent on maids or relations, everything they must do for them. No, I need this, I want this, give me this, do me this. A child that at an age can do things by himself, he still demands somebody to do it for him. It's wrong. You are not disciplining that child to self-independence. You are making him a liability to the society. Number 28, we are going to 40, but I pray we can. We're on the 28th one. If there is a squabble between children, they fight amongst themselves, don't side your child, even if your child is in the right. Try to separate them and be modest in your guiding the children. There was an instance in the book which says two children were playing. Eventually, the fathers have been neighbors for a long time, but these children grew up together and were playing between them. One day they started fighting between them. One broke the other's nose, and before you know, the mother started fighting. The fathers one of the fathers has a shop close by. After the fighting, the mother started fighting. The father of one of the sons came, saw what the wife told him about that's what has happened between her and the other mother, and he also slapped the wife of that man. And when the man came back, the other husband came back, they started fighting amongst themselves, and eventually they killed each other. The parents, the male children. And what happened eventually, 7 days after the burial and everything, the children were playing together again. So when children are fighting, don't side with anyone, be they your children or not. Try to understand who is at fault, guide and put that child in the right way behind the back. Don't scold him in front of them. Tell him this is the wrong thing, but behind him. And if it is something that it's a child of somebody, you can also tell the parents. But I know parents of nowadays, very few are willing to accept that their children are at fault. But Islamically, the right thing is, whoever is wrong, be it your child, you should also imbibe that spirit. Okay. So, in summary, what we are saying here is, and there's another important one, parents feel girl children are a burden. Go and see the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Daughters are a source of blessing. In fact, for one that grooms a daughter and 2 daughters, 3 daughters, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, inshallah, and if they are guided, they will be a source of al-Jannah for him in the hereafter. And one of the Sahabas said, one of the Sahabas said, even 2, the Prophet said even 2. But I think nobody asked for even 1. And one the Sahaba that relate that hadith said, if somebody maybe had asked, even if it is 1 daughter, the Prophet might have said yes. But at least they are a blessing. We shouldn't see them as a burden. I'm doing it for somebody to marry away to, so I should not upgrade her as to the status of a full human being, give her everything. I would rather groom my male child who will inherit the house and other things. So those are bad acts that we should refrain from. When you have quarrels with your wife, also know the approach to do it. Don't do it in front of children, because you teach them bad habits which they disrespect their mother, and they also grow up to be intimidators of their wives and others. We should learn to respect each other on that. So I think in summary, we have had the most important at the end of the day is, together with the affirmation strategies, make constant dua for your children with ardent zeal and enthusiasm. Allah answers the prayers of parents. So please, it's a top priority. You make dua for your children. There are many duas in the Quran. In fact, the book also had several that I couldn't quote here due to time. Also, abstain from disobedience of Allah and restrain others from doing so. The more you are disobedient to Allah, you wouldn't expect Allah to bless you with obedient and subservient children. So these are very important acts that we feel people should emulate. We shared this in soft copy. I believe these are constant reminders that we can just look at, and then the book is also available for anybody who is enthusiastic about reading. The writer also wrote The Ideal Mother, like I said, a gift for the groom and a gift for the bride. All those are also, so one of the key priorities is, even before you get married, to be a father, getting the right mother for your children and other things. He mentioned all those things in these books. So it will be a good read if people can have the books to. You can Google Maulana Muhammad Hanif Abdul Majid. He is the writer, and then the soft copy of the one we did. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أستغفرك وأتوب إليك سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون سلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين السلام عليكم.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much. Alhamdulillah, we thank our brother who has led the lectures, and he has done fantastic lecture. Has been sent into the WhatsApp group, so we can look at it and go through it. We'll make a good video of this. Right, it was a very interesting topic. We'll ensure we have a full, complete video, and we'll post it so that those who do not attend can also watch it. So thank you all for coming. We also call for other brothers who wish to also give lectures as well. Take this topic to please let us know. Choose a topic and you can come and discuss it. We thank our brother Alhaji Ibrahim Balarabe for taking this topic for us. So again, the program will be next 2 weeks Friday. So we hope everybody can also come. I hope you all enjoyed. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.